There's a widely known conspiracy theory that the first moon landing on July 20th, 1969 didn't happen. You know, the one where we beat the Soviet Union in the space race to the moon. This isn't just a conspiracy theory, though. There's evidence proving the statement that the moon landing was faked by the United States government, and I believe that it was faked and used as a morale boost to reignite patriotism throughout the United States and give motivation to continue the long, drawn-out Cold War. Because of the space race, the U.S. flung itself into a flurry of productivity, training and hiring new scientists and engineers, creating new jobs in technology and manufacturing, and ultimately boosted the nation's prosperity. As quoted from History.com, by landing on the moon, the United States effectively won the space race that had begun with Sputnik's launch in 1957. For their part, the Soviets made 4 failed attempts to launch a lunar landing craft between 1969 and 1972, including a spectacular launch pad explosion in July of 1969. From beginning to end, the American public's attention was captivated by the space race, and the various developments by the Soviet and U.S. space programs were heavily covered in national media. This frenzy of interest was further encouraged by the new medium of television. Astronauts came to be seen as the ultimate American heroes, and earthbound men and women seemed to enjoy living vicariously through them. Soviets, in turn, were pictured as the ultimate villains, with their massive, relentless efforts to surpass America and prove the power of the communist system. End quote. This quote directly proves the thought that the space race and moon landing was used to fuel American citizens' hatred for the Soviets and for communism, as the U.S. was in the midst of the Cold War. This is the why. Now, how would the United States pull off faking a moon landing that was nationally televised? The answer to this question lies in who was involved. First, we have to look at who was president when the space race and moon landing were happening. President John F. Kennedy kicked off the start of the space race and would have known many famous film producers because of his lavish lifestyle growing up in a rich household in Massachusetts. President Kennedy and the United States government were so enthralled by the space race before his assassination that it would not be unlikely that plans were already in gear to move forward with the moon landing hoax before Kennedy's death on November 22, 1963. Kennedy's goal before his death was, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. President Lyndon B. Johnson succeeded Kennedy in the presidency after Kennedy was assassinated and didn't do much of anything until he was no longer president. And after his term was over, Richard Nixon came into office and was pushing hard to continue the space race. The video footage of the moon landing are sketchy at best and have been analyzed by many historians and photographers and have raised many questions because of their content and quality. One of the most famous conspiracy theories about the moon landing is that in one of the famous photos supposedly taken on the moon, there is an American flag on a flagpole that appears to be blowing in the wind, despite that there is no wind on the moon. Conspiracy theorists have said that the landscape and objects in the photos strikingly resemble those of the deserts in the southwestern United States, which is coincidentally where Area 51 is located. Many believe that the videos and pictures of the moon landing were actually taken at this location instead of on the surface of the moon. Another issue that arises when speaking of the moon landing is that of technology. Experts believe that the technology needed to execute the moon landing did not exist until the mid-1970s. Conspiracist Bob Sebrell states, the Soviets did not have the capability to track deep spacecraft until late 1972, immediately after which the last 3 Apollo missions were abruptly canceled. Suspicious. If the Soviets did not have the technology to track the spacecraft used in the Apollo missions until then it is not a far-fetched idea that the United States would not have had this technology either, as the United States and the Soviet Union were neck and neck in technology related to spacecraft, nuclear warfare, and other weapons in the time leading up to this. Now, the theory that the moon landing was fake seems like something only crazy and irrational people would believe, until you think about the other times throughout history that the United States government has lied to its citizens. In a world where people are taught to blindly trust their government, people end up trapped with power-hungry dictators and living in deadly environments that are ridden with war. The motive for faking the moon landing was there. Now it's just up to you if you believe it was real or not.